All right, what's up, guys? Here we are having a nice little fun chat, and we're joined with Ryan Bigger. You guys know him with At Last, and is the friendly, beautiful man that always gets us the books we want. Right? What's up, Ryan?
What is up, Russ? It's good to be able to chat with you. Thanks for having me on. And I mean, you know me, dog. I always like to talk. So the opportunity, I wasn't gonna let it go.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'm excited, man. It's fun. I know we've been kind of working to try and figure out what's going to work best. So we're going to compromise with this. Next time, we're going to get you in studio, dude.
Yeah, I look
Next time.
forward to it. I look
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
to it. Might be a little bit of a trek, but I'm definitely down. I'm definitely down.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So Ryan, one thing I want to talk about on this conversation, and really just for everyone to kind of get a dial in, and what we're going to be showcasing really is you're a longtime collector. You've been in the hobby world with collecting for years, dude. So, kind of just give everyone just a little bit of a background on you, a little bit more of like some information on you, the 101.
All right, sweet. So obviously, like most people in the hobby, was grew up with this kind of stuff, whether it be comics, cards, sports, cartoons, movies, shows, entertainment in general. Um, and as you get older, I think like all of us, we fell victim to the drug of nostalgia, and having more grown-up money. We always relied usually on our parents when we were little kids. We got no source of income, so whatever they got you, you had. And next thing you know, that's the stuff that you love, had made memories of. So now growing up, especially after the boom of COVID,
Yeah.
we all realized how boring some of our apartments, rooms, houses were. And then with a little extra cash, we realized let's spice it up and let's beautify it with our childhood. So that's why, depending on what era you grew up is kind of depends on your I guess personal collection. For example, like as big grew up in the 90s, early 2000s. So stuff like Batman animated series is huge for me. Um, Also where you grew up, I was a big sport fan. So obviously Yankees, Jets, Devils, Nets, all them. So those were big influences in sports. Um, but then also two cartoons. To drag this on, I'm a big Disney fan. Grew up with classic Mickey, Donald, Goofy, the whole gang. So anytime I get any vintage Disney too, I'm a huge sucker for that. Not just Marvel, DC, superheroes, and all of that good stuff. But yeah, getting into it is just all. I guess our childhood kind of narrates the stories that we want to collect. I guess in
I
a sense.
No, I really like your breakdown on that, and I'm glad you brought up the Disney thing too, because that's one of the things that when I look at you as probably one of the most versed collectors out there. And what I mean by that, and I'm a lot like hats off to you, a lot of respect, is that you're well versed, you're well knowledged in all of the different things, man. Like you're my poster guy, dude. Anything posters, I know I'm going to you to ask you to like legit, like seriously. You have your Disney knowledge. I know that's like a near dear to you. But even like Silver Age and Golden Age, like you're really well versed, with all that. And you're perfect for this conversation, man. You're a perfect candidate
Thank
for this
you.
conversation.
I haven't been told I'm perfect for a conversation in a while. No, I mean that also comes with what I do right now for a living. So those that might not be, um, knowledgeable of who I am, I work with Atlas Comics, and we do live sale hosting daily, and I am one of the live sale hosts, whether it's on site or remotely. Um, that was a great opportunity. I was able to jump on it almost a couple years ago now, and in so doing, you have to, I think, be knowledgeable because, especially with sales, I think knowledge will always sell an object better than a spiel or a bit. So if you're not knowledgeable on what you're moving, it's going to be a little tougher because people feed off that knowledge. People, the more they learn about something, they become more inclined to get more interest in something. So having a well-versed knowledge. I was, like I said, big sport fan too growing up. I knew every sport, every team. I was very well versed too in having conversations, whether it be about OG baseball stats, friggin' modern day football, whatever it was. I was able to, engulf in my conversation. And that's something I love having a giant well of knowledge. Maybe it's not pertinent knowledge. I don't have financial advice for you, but I I am able to hold a conversation about 50s baseball or 80s Marvel. So it's fun stuff like that.
One thing I wanted to kind of pick at too is we talk about knowledge and stuff, and I mean, a lot of times people who don't, I mean, there are people that exist in this world, as strange as it is to you and me, that don't collect anything, dude. Like they don't, they're not collectors, right? They're not in it for like the nostalgia or for just wanting to complete something, or they're just not their thing. But there is a big part of most of us collectors that have to become knowledgeable in the thing we're collecting, right? In the field that we're collecting, we should generally be somewhat versed in what it is we're collecting. If not, we're going to make mistakes, right? We're liable, and I know you've seen it, but we're liable to pay too much for an item.
Yeah.
Or, maybe you don't know when you get a good deal on something. You and I just had a conversation before we jumped on this about like a good deal and like something that we're both kind of talking about. But again, getting back into that, your knowledge and what you do, what kind of things have you looked at, like right now that you've been doing the live sales on Instagram? You guys with Atlas have been going a couple of years now, and you've seen the ups and downs, right? We all saw what was COVID. We saw that roller coaster. And in comics and just collectibles in general, we kind of know that that's a roller coaster, right? It goes up, it goes down. It's never just a flat line. We never just, we're not going to the moon on everything we get. Sometimes the value drops. What have you found like most beneficial to you in everything you've seen? Like, is there anything you collected and then got away from? Or is there something that you saw with the knowledge you gained that you just kind of focused in on?
That's a great question, because that's always something I like to speak on and talk to people about. Um, it also depends on what you're in this hobby for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do live sale hosting. I sell my own stuff, whether it be comic books, movie posters, like whatever it is. I try to stay well versed and multifaceted. But as a collector, if you're in this to make money, that's going to be the toughest thing, because then it is like stocks. Like, yeah, you could have a good opinion on a Johnson and Johnson stock, but in reality, you don't know what's really going to happen with the economy, outliers like COVID or whatever. If you are a collector and you're collecting for something you have a passion for and love, I don't think you'll ever go wrong. At that point, you're collecting not for necessarily maybe a quick financial return. You're
Mm-hmm.
collecting because it brings you value. And not all value needs to be based on monetary or financial, um, I guess, gains, but you could have value because of what it means to you personally. Like, I have a Spider-Man 1 Platinum back there. It's like right near my hand. Um, I did a live show a year ago on my birthday. We're on site. And that book, I mean, it has decent value. It's a dope book. Anyone that grew up in the 90s knows Spider-Man 1 Platinum. You see a million Spider-Man 1s. You don't see the Platinum version as often. It's very
Yep.
rare in comparison to the regular polybag one. That book right there is one of my most valued books in my collection, not financially, but to me, because during this live sale, a lot of people in the community pitched in credits so that I could get that book free to me. Didn't cost me a single penny. I was able to get credits, and money was raised while I was live for me to have that book, which blew my mind at the time, because it was hundreds of dollars came in for me to have that book. And it didn't cost me a thing, but the reason why it's my most valuable is because the memory it made that day, I'll never forget. And also the way it made me feel, like that I did enough in this community that people were able to chip in, whether it was $10, $20, $50 of their own money for a book they'll never see in person, but then I'll keep for the rest of my life. Like that's a book too. If you look at it, the financial side, I'm not into it for anything. I could sell it, make profit. That's pure profit. But I'm never going to sell that because of the value it brings to me personally, and emotionally. Um, but then you have, financial value in some books that are worth a little more money. So as a collector that does this because I like the way it makes me feel, it doesn't matter whether a book spikes in value, decreases in value. If that book just say fair market, don't matter what the book is 500 bucks. That book means a lot to you. It doesn't matter whether that book jumps up to $1,000 or it jumps down to $100. That book still means the same to you because it emotionally ties to you. And that's why I try to recommend people collecting, because of how it makes you feel emotionally as opposed to financially. If you're buying a book because you're like, oh, well, that's the first Mr. Freeze. Like, I need that because it's the first Mr. Freeze. That's a big time book. That costs a lot of money. All of a sudden, Mr. Freeze has a terrible movie, aka like a ASM 101 Morbius, where now that book you might have bought it for 500 bucks is now 200. Now you're angry because you just lost $300 on paper. So if you're buying because that book is badass and people are going to be like, "Damn, he's got expensive books," you're never going to win. You're going to be chasing a dragon that you will never catch. So I always tell people, be careful what you buy and what you invest in, whether you're doing it for financial gains or you're doing it for emotional gains, because you're the only one that could decide whether a book goes up or down emotionally.
Bro,
If
I didn't know we were going to hit the core of this conversation so quick, man. But like, we already, guys, that's it. The conversation's done. We're calling it a wrap. No, that is amazing. Legitimately, that is. I thought it was going to take us maybe half hour to get there, but no, that is 100% right where we'd like to.
I ramble on. I eventually strike a chord, I guess, eventually. So,
Dude, that was
um,
golden. Legitimately though, that is so true, and I can tell you because again, like my journey, like I've been into comics probably because like they remind me like when I was a kid. I grew up kind of poor, man. I didn't have much money. So growing up as a kid, my mom would, pick me up a comic book, right? Like a Ninja Turtles comic book or like an older Iron Man, just like the cheap ones. And I would get these and man, they were so cool, right? Flipping through, like seeing War Machine. I was like, oh, that's such a cool character, right? Like you just kind of bond with it. You don't really know, like I was still too young to really even realize what I was reading, to be honest with you. It was more for the pictures and just the coolness of it. Um, so now as an adult, earlier as an adult, I started, buying comic books again to collect for that nostalgia. And then somewhere around the brink of COVID, I started collecting because I was like, hey, we like a lot of people, not everybody, but I was like, hey, maybe I could flip some of these things, right? So then I started buying stuff that I wasn't in love with and things that I didn't like, but because they had value, you know what I'm saying? So I would buy these things, flip them. Well, then like 2 years ago, that's gone. That all just disappeared. Like that stopped happening. And I got stuck with boxes of stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't want this. I'm not into it. Like, what do I do with it? And I heard this advice from a guy who was in that field of buying, and selling and everything. And he's just like, what I've come to learn, man, he's like, is just collect what you like, buy what you like. And if you get stuck with it, you'll never be disappointed because you love it. And I was like, damn, man, it's a very short, sweet version of what you said, but it was so true. And then I looked and I realized I had been doing that, but I was letting all the value, monetary value, kind of overshadow
yeah,
that, and that kind of disrupted my actual heart of being a collector. So I got away from that. But long story short is that's amazing advice for anyone that's getting into the hobby or that's already there. Maybe, there's so many guys that you and I have seen that are in this hobby. They've been, doing this for years and they're like letting their collections go or they're trying to find that re-spark, it's almost like an old marriage. They're trying to re-spark that love again. And I think a lot of it is because they started buying those things that they thought were valuable because it's the first Mary Jane and or whatever, and then they stopped loving what they were getting. They stopped looking at that cover or looking at the
yeah,
art or opening the book or reading the story, whatever it was, and they got disconnected. And I think it happens to a lot of people. I think a lot of people go through that. So what you said was great, man. I think that's going to resonate with a lot of us. It did with me, man, 100%.
Wow, and to kind of piggyback on your point, getting into this hobby or getting back into it, because I know a lot of the times, we did this as kids, then obviously life happened. Maybe it wasn't as cool, in middle school or high school or something, like, you got busy. Next thing you know, you went to college, you're working, but you somehow find a way back to collecting. Um, I notice the ebbs and flows of people's tendency because of what I do too. I see sales daily. Um, it's when you get into this, especially having now all these facets to buy comics, whether it be Instagram, whatnot, Facebook Marketplace, wherever it is, eBay Live, whatever it is. We right now, it's it should be illegal how easily we could buy comics at any point in the day, whether it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., there's a way for you to go out and buy comics. When back in the day, you had to wait. If the hours of the shop was 10 to 6, you could only buy books from 10 to 6. Or if you didn't have a local shop, but there was a local convention, you had to go to a comic book convention and wait. And that's when you would buy your books. So to now have that, you could buy it at any time, and that feel that you get buying and spending money, it's a little addicting. So when you get into this hobby and you're reconnected with that, you want to buy all the Spider-Man books, you want to buy all the X-Men books, you want to buy all the Batman books, to the point where you start buying all this stuff. Then you realize, you look around and you're like, damn, I got a bunch of boxes full of stuff I don't want to touch. So always telling people to be careful. And then you realize, once you have all these books, you're like, damn, I have a lot of maybe $3 books, or I have a lot of $10 books. But now you want to get that $1,000 book or that $100 book. I always tell you, the drug of spending money is there. You At first, you don't want to spend more than $5 on a book. Then you're like, I'm never going to spend more than 20 on a book. And then you're like, I'm not going to spend 50 on a book. That's insane. All right, but I'm not going to spend $100. There's no way. And then you do it that first time. And then next thing you know, you're like, God damn it, I just bought another $1,000 book. So it's like you have
Yep.
those tiers where once you start, then you realize it's fun buying that $600 book. But then you realize you have all these $3 books that you don't want no more. Kind of, like I said, to go back to collect on what makes you happy, and not just, because when you're bored and you like spending money. Um, but that's the hardest thing about seeing that. I see the grind of people like to fill runs and then they want to get keys. Do you want to fill runs? Do you want to get keys? It's hard to do both. And then also, too, what's the importance of getting a key? Is it just because now you could tell people I have the first, you know, Two Face, or are you trying to complete the Neil Adams run? Like,
Oh,
it's
dude,
hard to do all of it.
there's something you're gonna laugh at this, but like a lot of women, I say, like, women get their nails and their hair done for other women. They don't do it for you and me. They do it for other women, right? Because
Yeah.
another woman's gonna look at them and be like, "Oh, I like your nails. Oh, I like your hair. I like that outfit." For the most part, it's always for other women, and I think as collectors, we kind of do the same thing, man. Because I'm like, hey, man, I know when I get this, J. Scott Campbell and a 9.8 signed, Ryan's gonna be like, oh, Russ, you got that signed. That's clean, man. It's a 9.8, and then it makes me feel good. Going back to your point of, you can buy comics anytime, you can buy cards or whatever it is anytime. You could also pretty much find that feeling any time of the day. Go on
Yeah.
Instagram. I mean, dude, 3 in the morning, I'm like scrolling through Instagram and someone's posting something that they just, hey, I just bought this collection, just got this, and I'm like, ooh, and I feel good for them, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Then 10 minutes later, I'm on eBay and I'm like, all right, what do I need? Like, looking to see what's up. And it's just like, we're always doing this. Like,
Yeah.
there's never any rest. And when you get to that point, man, it gets dangerous, because at some point or another, you're going to hit that wall. Does it ever kind of just make you wonder, like, how did this world get to this point in the world of collecting? Like, how did we get so, like, to this point where we all just want to own everything?
I mean, collecting's now been happening for as long as man has been around. Maybe not in the world of, fantasy stories or art or whatever. It's collecting anything, whether it be collecting trinkets, collecting rocks, collecting tools. I think humans have an inherent trait for collecting because it's something that it's theirs. Like, we started a hunter and gathering. Right there, the hunter and gathering mindset is you're hunting and then collecting. You're gathering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether it's you're collecting food, you're collecting, weapons to use in a future battle or whatever it is, you're collecting something. Obviously, now we're not in a hunter gatherer, world, but it's just, I think, an inherent thing of just having your stuff.
Right.
Um, doing sales, I think the one thing I always find myself saying is, there's no way people got money for tomorrow. It's like we have all these shows where we'll do shows, like you said, we're doing shows daily, anywhere from 5 to 8 shows a week or something, if you want to maybe do the breakdown like that. Um, every time we have a big show, like, oh man, I just say I did a show Thursday, but now I'm doing my own stuff and I'm selling my own books Friday. I'm thinking, damn, no one's gonna have money to buy my stuff tomorrow. But
Right.
then tomorrow happens, and if the stuff is priced right, you got the goods people want, you're gonna sell stuff. And it just blows my mind that we keep having enough people to want to collect this stuff. Or I look at some stuff where I'd say when you buy one-offs, if I'm ever buying something one-off, it's generally for my personal collection. I'm PCing it. I don't like to buy a lot of, like, all right, I'm buying this one book, then to flip that one book and make a profit on that. I think the profits for, I think most sellers could probably talk about this, is buying the collection.
Right.
Okay. That's where you get your margins guaranteed. You're more likely to make some real money. Um, when you get a collection, you didn't create that person's collection. You're just taking what they collected, taking that, and now you view that as an asset that you need to sell off. Sometimes I look at these, if I get a collection, I'll look at this and be like, nothing against anyone else's. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum here, but I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, why the hell did they buy this?
Right.
Because to me, I have no interest in it. But you go live, you make a sale, and next thing you know, what I think is like, I don't see the big deal on it. Those are the things that'll sell first. You never know who is out there looking for something that you don't have any interest to. And I think that's where it goes into, it's a tough, rocky slope when you're buying in thoughts of somebody else, because everyone's like, hey, I'm looking for an ASM 252. You get the ASM 252, and then that person one got it somewhere else. They don't want it no more. They're looking for a 9.4, and you got a 9.2. They like newsstand, you got a direct. So when you buy the one-offs and you're buying for someone, you never win.
Do you feel you'll ever be desensitized to, I guess, buying, sell, just because of what you do on a daily basis? Do you feel you're ever desensitized to like the collector's world, that nostalgia feeling?
I guess this relates more to my comment I was before that I lost my train of thought, where when you buy a collection, in my opinion, you, at least in my previous experiences, you get a collection off the rip. I'm usually desensitized to the items in the collection
Mhm.
because I didn't buy this collection for personal reasons. I bought this for financial gains. So
Okay.
right there and then, I'm desensitized to the items, because I recently got a collection where there's books that I liked and I would have loved to have collect, but I have money in this. I need to get that money back so I could reinvest that money. So even
Right.
though it was the right book, it was the wrong time. And I think that's the only time I really get desensitized to certain items. But when I watch it in my, off hours, and I'm not wearing, the Atlas hat, that's when I'm more inclined, once again, if I have the money ready, because that's another. whole nother topic of conversation, is the danger of this hobby is the addictive feel of spending and buying,
Oh yeah.
where you might overextend yourself.
Yep.
You know, you don't have the money in the bank for that book, or you do, but that money was supposed to be for your bills at the end of the month, which I've seen that happen as well. That's the dark side of collecting. But when it comes to will I ever be desensitized? No. I think if I've learned anything in doing these sales, is my passion for this is escalated, because I see so much. I've talked to a good buddy, Chef. If you're familiar, once again, with Atlas Comics, Chef Flippin' Comics, big shout out to my boy Chef.
Yep.
He made a great point where we see so many books doing what we do that sometimes I might just look at, like, I've held a Batman one, I've held a Captain America one. Yeah, I had goosebumps, but then I've also held other books that I didn't really care about, because to me, the first appearance of, I don't know, whatever it may be, doesn't mean that much to me. A first Doc Ock, yeah, that's a cool character, but I don't really, it doesn't really do it for me. So
Right.
some people might be in awe that I'm holding their grail. Me, I'm like, I don't really care. But then I'll hold a book signed by Karl Barks and I'm like, this is freaking nuts.
That's
While at
it.
the
Yeah.
same time, someone else be like, who the hell is this Carl Banks? Like they'll just make up a name. So what I've learned is I'm so thankful for what I do,
Yeah.
because I get to see stuff that most people won't. But at the same time, too, it's allowed me to kind of hone in on what I like. I've allowed myself to do what people learn, where they learn they don't want all this crap, or they learn late where it's like, oh, actually, maybe I do like collecting video games. Like,
Yeah.
I see this stuff. So I also hold myself when I'm hosting, I can't claim, or I at least pause, where that now allows me after the show, I could recollect and be like, you know what? Let me reminisce here. Did I actually want that? No, you know what? No, I'll hold off. When in the moment, it's easier to bite on it and then regret it later. I'm able to take that second opportunity to be like, you know what? I actually do want that. So
Yeah.
hit them up, make a deal, and now I could get more stuff that I'm inclined to love. And I mean, I have a ton of stuff, but I do have a real passion for what I'm doing, because I get to see stuff and realize, you know what, that's not my cup of tea.
So you kind
Or
of let the
that
FOMO die
is.
out a little bit. Like
Yes.
you don't have that, because that's a big thing I think in the collectors world, especially, is like the FOMO, man. Like I think that gets
Yeah.
so many people. And yeah, I'm gonna take this moment real quick to say this. I think it's important for everyone to kind of take a step back, just pause, because that FOMO is as good as it might be to allow you to jump in there and buy something that could be rare, or buy something you really want. It could also be very toxic. It's like nutmeg, like in a little dose, it's okay, but like too much, it's poisonous. Like it's not good for you. Um, and I kind of see that's FOMO, man. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of people that push FOMO. Like they really do. And it's toxic in the world of collecting, man. It really is. There's a lot of influencers um who ride that. I look at that and it's just kind of icky to me, dude. It's
Yeah.
icky to me. It's like, you know what, dude? Because that can lead people down a bad path. And if you're going to be an influencer, influence people the right way. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It's like the advice you gave, right? Collect what you like. Don't just buy all kinds of stuff for the value, quote unquote, but collect what you like. That's good advice. That's sound advice. That kind of stuff is positive influence. But the whole, oh, this book is super rare and it's going to be the next big key, and you guys need to buy 1,000 of them on my whatnot stream. Yeah, dudes like you, and you probably, if you're hearing this, know what I'm talking about. You're bad for the collectors world. You're bad for the community, because that kind of crap, dude, gets people later on in financial binds. It people overextend themselves, not realizing that they're doing that. People,
Hmm.
then end up regretting the book, and then that book that we're all like, oh, it's a variant, it's a only one of whatever, loses its value in a year, and no one freaking
Yep.
wants it and forgets. Like, but
Which,
anyway, rant
it's
over.
that. No, I mean, I feel you, because I understand that. Um, but it's also a very hard path to kind of to tangle. Like, you get very tangled up there. Where as someone that does resell, I you do have to sell. You do have to sell the product.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, you have to sell the product. I personally, if I'm selling my stuff, that's easy. That's easy money. I could sell my stuff for days because I have a passion for it. There's other stuff where, like I said, whether it's, nothing against Lois Lane, but like if it's a random Lois Lane book, maybe I don't really care about that book, but I have to care about it enough to sell it
Right.
because that's how I keep the lights on. I can't
Right.
keep the lights on if I don't sell books, or I don't sell, posters, or I don't sell this, that, and the third. The FOMO craze is tough because it's one hand, it's the accountability of the person that's pushing the FOMO item. But on the other hand, it's also the responsibility of the buyer
Sure.
to check themselves, because you don't have anyone pushing FOMO stuff if you don't have anyone buying the FOMO stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it is very tough creating. I think this is wherein lies the issue, is when you create a false narrative about rarity. That is now you flirt with scummy. Once again, I
Yeah.
hate to yuck people's yum, but if you are lying to sell a book, that's on the line of fraudulent. Okay, that we
Agreed.
can't have. I agree. However, when you tell the truth, or it is a 1 in 100, there that is a lot more rare than the regular cover A,
Right.
or you could say, or you go to a con and you have an exclusive. We're limited to 1,000. If I go out and say, guys, this is a MegaCon exclusive, which, who knows, I might, because I'm going to MegaCon.
Yeah.
There are people that collect convention exclusives because they're not sellers. They're not looking at the value in the resale. They're looking at like, oh, this is gonna be dope because now there's only 1,000 of them. That means I'm one of only maybe 1,000 people at most that could own this book. If I were to now go out and say this limited to 1,000 is limited to 500, I'm lying to sell a book and make money and profit. That is wrong. But
Right.
I am going to hype up the fact that, hey, man, this is limited to 1,000. There's only 1,000 copies ever produced, no more than that. Like, come on, this beautiful black cat. You need this. You need this book. That's a little different than saying, all right, now actually it was limited to 250, super low print run. Shit, they already resold it. I'm seeing on eBay this shit's going for $250, but it's not.
Yeah.
That when you're selling something and lying, that's wrong. But
Right.
just selling something because the market's there, I can't hate on that. I can't hate on lying to sell something, creating a false narrative. That is wrong, and I think we both agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a tough line, because then you say, then all of us resellers are screwed. Like,
Well, yeah.
if
I mean,
if the main objective was to get people their books, I wouldn't charge anything. I would just give it away.
right.
But at the same time, I need to make money. I that's I don't have this is my 9 to 5, or my 8 till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like
I was gonna say 9 to 5. I don't know about that one, man.
I wish it was only 9 to 5, dog.
Right.
But that's wherein is the toughest part. Because
what
yes,
what I
the
would say.
FOMO.
Oh, sorry. What I would say real quick on that, and to kind of clarify too, where I kind of lie and where my gripes really lie, is not so much pushing the FOMO. I mean, I don't like that, but it's pushing the people that you know. Look, here's a good example. I'll use myself as an example. I'm a J. Scott Campbell fan. You don't have to sell me on a J. Scott Campbell book. Like, if I want it, I'll buy it. If I don't want it, you won't see me buy it. And you'll be like, either he has it or he doesn't like it. Whatever the case may be. But what I would say is pushing that J. Scott Campbell book on someone who has no knowledge of J. Scott Campbell, someone who doesn't know, who's new to the hobby, and you're like, no, this is the book you got to get because, and you're not lying, but you're just hyping it up so much
Yeah.
that person who's ignorant, and I don't mean in a bad way, but they're just ignorant to the idea of what they're
I
buying.
think it's funny because I recently just watched Wolf of Wall Street again.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
relates perfectly to when Jordan Belfort starts over and he goes to the penny stocks
That's
and
what I was saying. Yep.
he sells penny stocks for Aerotine Industries, and he hypes it up. They're
Yeah.
starting from the ground up, is they're this and they're very experimental, this, that, and the third, and they hype up, and it really, in actuality, is just a warehouse, like it's a little shed. It's a shed that says Aerotine Industries. It's a nothing company and full of crap, but they hype it up. So now the person is going to spend 5K to get all these stocks with the thought of, oh my God, he said I could make $25,000.
Right.
Okay, shit. All I have to do is give you 5K. Perfect. Let's do it. That I think is where the issue is where, okay, this is a J. Scott Campbell book. Oh my God, this right here in 3 months is going to be 5x the price.
Right. Right.
That that is where that shisty car salesman vibe comes from.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important, like we said, to be well versed in the field to be sellers, because that's what will separate us from the people that are doing this strictly for financial gains. They don't
Yeah.
give a rat's ass about collecting this, that, and the third. They don't collect at all. They don't have a PC. They're not filling runs. They're here because they realize there's quote unquote suckers that they could take advantage of. And I
Right.
think separating that is, you have to find, and that's why you should buy from trusted people, trusted vendors,
Yep.
people you've maybe met before. That's why it's a little different at a convention too. And I give shout outs. I know some people don't like the conventions because it could be expensive,
Right.
overpriced, a lot of people. But a lot of those sellers have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. Where if they were a shisty used car salesman,
Oh, they
they
would
would
be
have
there.
been chewed up and spit out years ago.
Yep.
But the fact that they've maintained over time shows to some point of some values that they might have.
Yeah.
They're not pushing the FOMO book of the week. They're just pushing what they know, and you have your different vendors that, they're magazine experts, or they focus on a lot of golden age, and other people, they focus on artist sigs. And you can see that. Um, so I think it's just finding that middle ground where they're a valued vendor, or we're just pushing some bullshit on you because I need to make a quick buck.
And then with that, I mean, people collect for different reasons. We talked about that, right? Some just because they like it, others because they do get a little bit of value from buying that Spider-Man, one AF-15, whatever it is, whatever they want to buy. But it is a little bit dangerous too when people again hype up something, and if it's like, say as an example, it's a book you're looking for and there is some monetary value in it, because as much as we might not be those collectors, there are some who are going to buy a book because there is monetary value in it, and they're going to use it as an investment tool. They may still be collectors at heart, but they may have one or two books that they kind of hold their money with. And it does get dangerous when you have certain people that may hype up something or another. Then those people realize, oh, that book wasn't really worth it, and then they just dump it. And then like that, maybe they're dumping a really big expensive book that everyone else would be like, oh shoot, no, hold on a second, I had one of those, and now you just dumped it for $1. Like, then it gets scary because we talk about the comic book market, right, or the collectibles
Yeah.
market. That kind of stuff gets dangerous because if it happens on a major scale, like we saw about 2 years ago that happened with Whatnot. Again, don't need to name anybody, but we already kind of know what's happening on Whatnot. And then these people just start dumping their books. It starts crashing values of certain things because it really wasn't worth that. It really wasn't what we thought it was going to be. And
Yeah.
then it's like, again, like you and I eventually are going to get old, dude. We're going to get crusty. And guess what? The people that are going to continue the hobby are going to be the young kids that maybe aren't even born yet. Maybe some are, but we have to leave something for them. We got to leave something for them to be desired. If not, I mean, no one's going to care about these books when we're gone, dude. If we don't leave
Yeah.
something for them, they're not going to care about it. And we have to make it inviting to that. And I had a conversation with Mickey Swagelhaus about this. We have to make it inviting for everybody to feel included in the hobby, right? Like whatever it is you want to collect, for whatever reason you want to collect, that's fine. you're welcome. You can come into the
Yeah.
collecting group. You can come in and hang out. It might be for different reasons, but you can still come in and hang out. You don't have to feel excluded. And just because I collect, newsstands doesn't mean that I'm better from you, because you collect direct, or maybe
Yeah.
you're a signature guy or whatever. So I think going back into that realm and just being more inclusive with certain things, understanding that will help kind of nurture the collector's market, if you will. It'll kind of help, bring that nutrition back into the world of collecting, where we kind of feel like,
Mhm.
hey, the soil's being enriched now. Doesn't feel like we've
Yeah.
drained it all out. And I
Yep.
think a lot of times, at least lately, sometimes it's felt, not for me specifically, but I can see that people have felt that way, right? Where they feel like, oh man, I'm just going to let these books go, or I'm going to let my cards go because it doesn't hold that value for me anymore. Have you seen that? Like,
Yeah.
what are your takes on
Well,
that?
it's also, this goes back to, like, I'd hate to poo-poo anyone's excitement, you know? And this goes too with the FOMO books and all the hoopla, the 1 in 50s, the cover X, Y, and G, it's like, whatever it is. If someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, man, I just got this absolute Batman #1. It's the 1 in 50. Oh my God, so and so did the cover. They crushed it. Like, look at this, man." And I'll look at that like, "Damn, you paid a lot of money for that. I might
Right.
not like it, but it would be so wrong of me to now poo-poo what they really like." Where,
Yes.
yeah, they might not love that book for the next 6 months, but they love it now. So it's unfair for me now to criticize what they collect,
Right.
and that goes into, I know we'll probably talk about this at some point, whether it's slabs or raws, or whether you like Marvel or DC, pre-code horror, Bronze Age horror. It doesn't matter. There's someone that likes something out there. There's always something for someone. And as you said, the goal for the hobby is to share this excitement and love for, whether it be future generations or your peers. It's never too late to get into the world of collecting. You're never too old to start being a comic book collector. There's no such thing as that. And you're never too young either, but it's one of those, if I were to share my excitement with a fellow peer that has nothing to do with comic books, I share this excitement, he sees how excited I get over it, and then he goes, "Actually, you know what? That is cool. Who's the artist?" And I'm like, "Oh man, this is Jack Kirby, man." And then
Yeah.
he starts looking for that. And then you go, "You know what? I wouldn't mind reading that. Who's the writer?" And next thing you know, they start collecting. So you never know who you could influence. That's why I think just being excited and passionate and genuine about something is good. And that's why I try to not force people to collect this, that, and the third, but I always hype up Disney. I hype up Turtles. I hype up Batman animated series. That you spend enough time with me, there's a chance that interest might rub off.
Or
So
you can never be wrong with Batman animated series. That's always going to be golden
so
in my heart. Can never
exactly.
go wrong
So
with that.
once again, there are people that grew up in the 90s that might not have watched it, or they grew up in the 2000s, the 2010s. They've never seen it. So being able to be open to that, now, next thing you know, they might just start collecting Batman animated series, the Batman Adventures run, or they might just be, big Kevin Conroy fans. Whoever, like, it just, you never know what someone might start liking or appreciate. But just as long as you're genuine about it, I think you'll be safe in this industry.
I
Just
think it's
don't
a
go chasing a dragon because someone else likes it. If you find interest for it and you're interested, check it. If you end up not liking it long term, that's fine. It happens. But don't go chasing it because you think someone else likes it. This is a great idea.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's the message that we just in general, like guys like you, dude, you see people every day. Like that's a message people need to keep taking away, right? Like new collectors, older collectors, people like me who've been in it for a while, people like you. Um, Take that message, guys, and run with it because that's the truth right there. Just again, collect what you like. Like just buy what you like. You can never go wrong with it. You'll never
Yeah.
say, damn, it lost value. Damn, it is what it is. If one day you're over it because you're over it, then that's okay. That's fine. But at least it's because you're over it, not because it no longer holds monetary
Yeah.
value. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm at now, personally, I've been dabbling with OA now. So now I'm kind of getting, what I'm talking about. I've been kind of,
Yep.
getting into the world of picking up OA. Again, for me, it's the rarity factor. I love it. It's a one-off piece. No one else has it.
Ones, yeah.
Yeah, everyone chases that, the book, how many of those were made, but that one piece, that's it. There's no other like it. And then it just brings you in connection with your favorite artist. So that for me
Yep.
is where I'm kind of going into now. I'm starting to find the beauty in that. But again, not because of the value, but because it brings me joy. When I look at it hanging on the wall, I'm like, damn, that's beautiful. And then if should I sell it and give it to somebody else, maybe they can enjoy that and then feel
Yeah.
that joy that I got. So I'm not even selfish with it too. I'm like, hey, if it goes, it goes. Like I'll be happy if someone else gets it and that really wants it. Um, there was a really good video that again, bring them up. Shout out to Swagahas Mickey. They threw out there on like the Ungraded Truth and their podcast and stuff. Really, really cool episode where they were talking about like graded, CGC. And the fact is, when you buy a graded book, right, and it's got the grade on there, you're going to look at that and you're buying someone's opinion on the book, saying, hey, we believe that this book is graded based off of a scale and a tier and, at this grade. Then there's other people who have this, right? And they love the raw copies. When we look at that, what is your take? Do you think that there's always going to be that battle between people with I'm a graded fan or I'm a raw fan, whether it be cards, comics, whatever it is? Give me your shot on that.
100%. It's like the ice cream debate. Do you like vanilla or do you like chocolate? Like across the board, I might be a big chocolate fan because I'm like, in anyone's realistic mind, come on, vanilla's boring. And you could look at that with the raws and slabs, where as you see, I have a wall of slabs. I do both.
Yeah.
When it comes to a majority of my personal collection, it's raws. Because it's tough. Because once again, the good thing about having slabs, it helps create a finite value for people to trade,
Right.
whether it be trading or buying and selling. It allows there to be a finite market and an economy that we could all base this off of. Like a Batman 181 and a 60 is X amount of dollars. Granted, it could be a little more, it could be a little less. But if I say that book is $600, I really hope I'm not seeing it sell for 200 because then that hurts me if I have that book. Um, but the raws, there's a little more flexibility. I think it's a 60, but it's a subjective. To
100%.
one person one day, that 60 book could be a 70. While the same day, someone else is thinking, nah, that's a 5.5. So that's why having a book encapsulated at in some value of it says this is a 9.2.
Right.
Whether you actually look at it, and we talked about this earlier, you look at the book and you're like, oh, that needs to be resubmitted. Once again, but as it sits, it is a 9.2 until it's out of that slab and in your own hands. Somebody called that a 9.2. We could call that a 9.2.
Right.
And
It
that's why I
ends
think
the
it
ends
helps
the
with
debate.
value.
Right.
I mean, the age-old debate with slab and raws. I know people on the high horse with one or the other. They want a whole collection of slabs or they want a whole collection of raws. Um, I lean on the side of more raws because of what a comic book is.
Do you?
And
I didn't know.
because what, in my opinion of comic books,
Mm.
what makes comic books great and the immense popularity of comic books today, whether it be Disney buying Marvel for billions of dollars, and now they own a multi-billion-dollar entertainment hub because of the stories that Stan Lee, Kirby, Ditko, they all created.
Yeah.
So you look at books like I know a lot of Golden Age pre-code collectors, they're probably more inclined to collect books because of the cover art.
Hmm.
But when it comes to why, once again, pre-code horror wasn't able to last decades and decades and decades of new creations because of stuff like Sodi, and they were tabooed.
Yeah.
because there was a sense of shock value to those. You don't
Right.
have people collecting pre-code the majority of the time. I know there are people out there, and they're always the outliers, but you don't have people collecting pre-code because of the stories in them. The majority of pre-code collectors are buying covers, and that is nothing wrong because those cover arts are freaking insane.
Yeah.
Like you
Face
have
on a
LB
ice
Cole
cream
is
cone, like you know.
LB Cole, Feldstein, like you have Schomburg, you have all these artists that are legendary artists, legendary artists. But when
Yeah.
it comes to Marvel and DC, the reason those stood the test of time, yes, there's some great covers, but it's the interior that made everyone love Spider-Man.
True.
People don't love Spider-Man because of the cover art. They love Spider-Man because of what happened from the splash page to the last page.
Yeah.
That is why Spider-Man, created in the early 60s, has lasted till today. One of, if not the biggest superhero there is. Batman, same thing. There are some iconic Batman covers. But what made people resonate with Batman is what happened from page one to page the end.
Not
Okay.
wrong.
So when you put a book in a slab, in a sense, you take that away. Yes, you go online, you could read the stories online. Those stories are not gone and forgotten once they're in a slab. So there, I do understand that. But the beauty of comics, and I find myself doing it regularly, I'll take books and be like, you know what? I never read this book. And then you just go and you start reading it. There's
Yeah.
something about reading paper over a screen that I do appreciate. And once again, you could buy omnibus and all that stuff and learn
Yeah.
about all the superheroes that way. But there's just something about reading a book that once you put it in a slab, you won't be able to do.
So if you had a very expensive book, right? You take for what it is, whatever you want to pick in your head.
Yeah.
You had a very expensive book. Would you rather have your Grail? Would you rather have it slabbed in a high grade or raw in a, we'll say, mid to low grade?
So once again, it depends, I think, on the book, the era, the value. Once again, some people's grails might be $200.
Uh-huh.
Other people's grails might be $15 million. Okay, so me personally, a high value grail, I want to buy it slabbed.
Okay. So
Whether it's a
Vampirella one.
low grade, what?
Vampirella one.
Hey man, got it in
Yeah.
the slab. No,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
but also too, that's a little different because there are more of them, and that's from the like 1969. But when I'm talking, like I have uh my personal grail, a four color 16. I was
Okay.
finally able to acquire a four color 16. It is very, very tough to shell over money of that stature. Once again, don't need to talk about value there, but it's it's a lot of money to put down.
100%.
Once again, if I buy this, and you have to trust, this is why I always say buy from trusted dealers, trusted sellers, people you know,
Right.
especially when it comes to your grails, high value items, and Ross. Because if you were to buy a four color 16 raw and it was told it's a 3.0, and then you get it back and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You love it. And either you check it out and you discover it, or you send it off to CGC and you want it encapsulated, and you find out all of a sudden, boom, color touch, tear seal, staples were changed. Now you take that 3.0 and it might be a 1.8 purple.
Right.
That changes value immensely if you were
100%.
looking at it where it's like, yeah, you got the book, but now you'll always know that book is tarnished because the person that sold it to you didn't tell you there was tear seals. It was restored. There was missing something. So
And
that's where buying something of high value and those big time books that you don't see often, those golden age, those like early silver, I generally lie in the, especially buying it online. There's a difference buying it in store or at a convention. Buying big books like that online, I usually tend to fall towards the slab category because there's at least some protection in a blue label from CGC. They're not above mistakes. They've made many, but at least there's some guarantee. And also, to someone that does resell, at the same time, if I were to sell a 4.0 and I say, hey, it's a 4.0, no restoration, it's complete, everything's good. And then it comes back and it's a 2.0, it's missing a page and there's color touch. That is 100% on me, the buyer, to make, or the seller, to make that right.
Yes, sir.
If you're not willing to make it right, then you're at that point, you should never have that business.
And
But
I agree
that's
with you.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. You bring me to my next point on that because my personal thing, I've said this 1,000 times on my Whatnot stream, so my peeps know this, but I actually cap myself. I put a cap on the price I will pay for a raw book, regardless of the raw book. I won't spend more than $300 to $400 on a raw book, period. Will not do it. If it's over five, if it's not graded, I'm not buying it. Um, and the reason why I do that is for my own protection. Because again, the reason why I buy a slab is because I want to know that that book has not been restored, that that book has not been damaged in any way,
Yeah.
that the page isn't missing, that someone didn't do something to that book. Water damage. A lot of times water damage happens and we don't even know it. You won't see it. But I want to make sure that all those things, all those ducks are lined up so that at least, regardless of any, you're right. See, any grading company can make mistakes, but regardless, at least I'm kind of better insured, right? I'm kind of like
Yeah.
protected somewhat with my purchase. And at least I can fall back and say, well, at least I know I spent, $1,000, $2,000 on this book, but it's graded. And
Yeah.
at least I know nothing has been done to it that I wouldn't be okay with.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I kind of give advice when, people come on, they buy from me and say, hey, like, should I buy this? Because I'll get people that'll come in and they'll want this book here, and that's a newsstand.
Yeah.
In a 9.6, very tough to
Big
get.
book.
Yeah, very, very tough to get. There's only a few of them on the census. And I'll get people asking for like a raw one, and they're like, hey, but I need like a 9.8 candidate. I'm like, like as good as I know books, and I've been selling for years, and I've been
Yeah.
looking at them. I'm not perfect, but there ain't the likelihood of you finding a 9.8 candidate, 9.6, 9.8 candidate
In that newsstand category is
is like, what are we talking about?
devil's
Like
man.
you have a better shot at buying the scratcher and winning a grand than you do of finding one of those books. And we're being honest, like legitimately. Um, and so when we look at that, we kind of break all that down.
Yeah.
Again, why I kind of focus in on if I'm going to spend an X amount of money, it's because I want to just make sure I'm protected. I just want to make sure that nothing happens at the end of the day where I'm going to be like, damn, I got screwed on that purchase, man.
Yeah.
Like this just jacked
And
me up.
and that's why I think it stems once again to the point of buying from people you could trust and having that form of integrity. I think integrity as a seller is the most important thing. Like I shouldn't be here. Like someone's hit me up and said, "Hey, this looks like a little color touch on the book." And I'm like, "I thought I did my check. I could have missed it. It's a real possibility. Just send it back. No, I'll give you your money. You know what? It's no biggie." I'd rather that person know that if something were to happen, I'm going to back that and protect them. I can
Right.
now hit them with like, "No, dog, are you freaking nuts? No, get the hell out of here, man. That's not. No, no, no. You're wrong, man. You're wrong." Then that you lose the integrity there. I think personally, it goes. I know there are some people that I could potentially, if I wanted to, I could buy a very high value book from because one, I know they have integrity. If anything were to happen, they'll cover it. And two, they most likely did their checks. They took the black light, they page counted, they've done all that work, and now like they're very knowledgeable on the subject. They'll be fine. I think if you could fall under those two things, under both of them, not just one or the other, they have to be mutually exclusive here. Um, if you could trust the seller there, then you could spend high value money, in my opinion. But if you're ever thinking, I wonder if they would reimburse me if this were to go wrong, that you shouldn't buy it. Do not buy it. Do not buy it. Stick to the slabs. Stick to the slabs. Because that's like I said, integrity is everything. Everything. And being able to back something is huge. If you're not
I
going to
think
back it and guarantee it, be careful how much money you spent.
And that's a, I think like at one point, even if you're buying because you like a certain thing, regardless, you still have to protect yourself, right? You still got to
Yeah.
buy smart. Just because you like something, if someone's selling that one, raw book for $800, and everywhere you look, it's about $100 book, well, but I like it. Yeah, well, I mean, do what you want, spend your money how you
Yeah.
want, but just be smart too, for your own sake, be smart. Um, and that's why, I kind of throw that out there too. Is just buy smart, buy
And that
smart.
and that goes to kind of the point before, whether you're buying for resale, you're buying for personal. There are books out there that, to go back to the four color 16, there's books out there where they don't come around often, whether I want to hype that up or not. There are only like 123 or something blue label on the census for a four color 16, a book that was from 1940. It's like you're not going to see those books trade often because there's just not many out there. So you
Yeah,
get that opportunity. Yes, if it's just, say, it's not this, but just for easy math, if it's a $300 book and they want to charge you 1,300, you're gonna have to find yourself and be like, all right, maybe that's a little insane. But if it's a $300 book and they charge you 450, it might be the time, if it's the copy you like, to jump on it. Because if you're buying for your personal collection, you're not thinking about the return on investment like you are on a regular book you don't care about as much. So that's why whenever I sell PC books, then I'm just out of PC and I'm like, you know what? I liked it. It gave me a lot of happiness. It was fun while it lasted. I'm done with it. I'm going to offload it. I'm less inclined to be like, but I spent 100 on it. I need 100 out of it. No, I'm just going to be like, hey, you know what? It's yours. You want it? $75. Yeah, that's not the smart thing to do. I'll take a loss there. But I also didn't buy it to make money.
right.
So that's where, too, the value, where buy smart, but that goes into the buying what you like. And
Yeah,
I don't make it a constant thing where you're buying something for 100, selling it for 75. You won't be able to last as a business. But as a personal collector, that's why it's also too different when you have people that are your repeat vendors, where they do a sale once every week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. They run a different show than a collection sell-off. A collection sell-off, in their opinion, they're like, hey, I need an AF-15. I need $20,000 stat. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to sell this stuff.
yeah,
You don't go then being like, hey, man, well, I need this out of this out of this out of this. No, it's going to be priced at market. You might have bought it at COVID. Ain't nothing I can do for you, man. But we got to price it at market to sell it. You can't be looking like, I need to make money on this book. I need to make money on that book. If you do shows every week, that's a different thing. But if you're a personal collector and you're trying to buy a big book, you can't be stuck on the, I need to make my percentages. No, you're looking at buying that book. You, in your mind, that just say 10K you spent on your collection, that 10K is gone
yep,
because you bought books, you got stuff from it. You got good times. You spent experiences right there.
yeah,
Those experiences is sometimes more important than monetary value.
yeah. No, you're not wrong. I think there's a lot of people that kind of get caught up when it comes to selling. At least they get caught up in needing to make a certain amount on a book. And it's like, and we all know them. There's a certain sellers that, oh, I got to be at, 150 on this one book. I'm like, dude, again, not tooting my own horn, but I ran, a $12 million business for 8 years. And I could
Yeah.
tell you, like, legitimately, dude, if you're buying smart, your margin on your product, you can lose $20 on this book and make that $20 up.
Yeah.
You just mark up 20 other books for $1. Bam, you made up
I
for 20
I
bucks.
tell I tell a lot of sellers or even collectors that as well. When you look at your collection, like I said, COVID was a thing, market's a thing, and that goes into stocks, whatever it might be. Some things you buy at 100, and now all of a sudden it's 200. Other things you buy at 100, and now it's 60. All
Yep.
right. But those losses and gains even themselves out. And like you
Yes,
said, if
sir.
you buy smart most of the time, you should be fine. But once again, that's why you collect what you have a passion for.
Yeah.
Because once again, if I just say was into the Batman 121 for way too much money, no one is telling me I have to sell it. It's a book in my personal collection that I like. I love that book. It's going nowhere. It's not a book I want to take a loss on. I didn't buy it for two. It's like I got a good deal on it, but it's like one of those things where I could sell it if I wanted to, but I like it too much. I like it too much. Right now is not the time. But when I'm over that book, or I want to trade up, or I want a higher grade, then I'm gonna sell it. And if I have to take a little bit of a loss to reinvest that money, then I'm going to take a little bit of a loss to reinvest that money, because sometimes having that money flow is more important than just sitting on a dead inventory that just won't move because you're waiting for that market to come back.
Yeah, and it probably won't. At least not
Well, yes.
anytime soon. Like
Again, that once again that's something you got to look at that as a loss, unless, like you said,
yeah.
you're willing to die with that book. You take some losses, and hopefully you've had some wins in the meantime. Because if you're just chasing that COVID dragon, I don't think it's coming back anytime soon. The prices will come back eventually, just due to inflation and everything. But you're better off having that, in my opinion, money flow, as opposed to a book that you can't stand, and it makes you think about how you overpaid for a book 6 years ago,
Hey,
5 years
man,
ago, 4 years
in
ago.
this economy,
In this economy, man, that's for sure.
I'm,
That's for sure.
I'm telling you, man. Look,
Yeah.
as cool as COVID was, and as fun as it could be for the market again, for you and me, if we're going to sell some stuff, which we both do, I don't know if I want that again, man. Like that was, there was so much craziness going on. The truth is, I don't think people have money like that anymore. Like we're all hurting, dude. Everybody's hurting. Like we got to be smart with what we're doing. I think people kind of realize that now too. So they're kind of measuring it out a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean that also goes to show, like, I think it also, I hear a lot of doom and gloom, and I've been hearing a lot of doom and gloom on whether it be the comic book market, the collectible market in general as a whole. But I look at that as, if a seller is all doom and gloom, I look at that more on a reflection of the seller and what they're putting out and the
Yeah.
product they're trying to move. Because I see sales daily.
Oh yeah.
Stuff sells. If it's priced right, it will move. If it's something people want, it will move. And it doesn't matter that it's not COVID anymore. I think right now, the comic book and collectible market is as strong as it's been in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident in that. I think right now I think we've hit the floor and we're trending upwards. And I see a strength in the market, that, yeah, I did not have this opinion a year ago. A year
Right.
ago, I was like, yeah, it's kind of tough, man. Inventory in, it needs to be inventory out within 2 weeks. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time.
Right.
Now it's a little different. You're seeing growth in some things. You still got to buy smart, but I do think we have leveled out a little bit. We're not skiing anymore. We're stuck. We're stuck now we plateaued. I think we're finally in the valley, and now we're, I
Yeah.
think, going up the gondola now. That was a huge snow reference right there. That was a skiing snowboarding reference right there. Just hit you with, dog.
We've seen like the trending books that are hot right now. Like you can call them FOMO books, you can call them whatever. I just call them the hot books of the week, right? They're a
Yeah.
lot of those image books, the dorks, and the white sky and all that stuff. We've seen it. Nectar, cool. I think it's neat. We haven't seen that in a while, especially like back to back to back to back every week, something new. Kind of cool. Um, at the end of the day, man, any kind of news is good news in this hobby. So as long as we're seeing, like people buying, people happy I'll
Well,
take it,
I
dude.
think I think that's what was so important about. I think you could probably even say this trend probably kicked off a little more because of Invincibles, and that started. such an interest for it. Where I remember it wasn't that long ago, year and a half ago, you couldn't sell an Invincible book if you paid someone to take it.
Yeah.
I just try selling Invincibles $5 a pop. It just sit there. Where now, yeah, it's slowed down. I think it's tempered because it's in between, whether the hype was in the next season. But those same books that wouldn't move, they still sell every single time. Then to have the Absolute Universe, and once again, I think the Absolute Universe spiked because of the awesome stories, not the covers, but once again, the interior work. You went back to not just cover grabs. You're not just like, well, this exclusive cover is a 1 in 25. That doesn't sustain. That 1 in 25 won't have the same value in 4 months
Yeah.
most of the time if it is just a cover grab. But the Absolute Batman 1, I feel like, rose in value because of the story and the absolute universe that they created. Once again, it's the stories that created value and demand. I think the White Skies, the Dorks, I haven't done much research and I don't know a thing about those stories. We've seen trends like that, just are the stories good enough to last? Because once again, it just could be created hype and created excitement that's false. But when it comes to stuff like Absolute Batman and Invincibles, that has been sustained for a little bit now. Yes, Absolute Batman I think is trending a little downwards just because it's slowing off. It couldn't keep going up the mountain. You finally got off the lift. You're slowly going down a green. Okay, you're going down a green. You're not going down the black diamond right now. It is just slowly dipping because it's correcting. But the value is still there. Those books still move every show.
I just get nervous for anyone that owns. I don't personally have any dog in the fight, but I get a little nervous with the Absolute Batman in regard to one thing. With the amount of 9/8 that were just recently submitted, everyone and their mom just submitted their books. It's a new book, man. And no, let's
Yeah.
be real. I mean, with the exception of probably a handful of people, the majority were probably 9/6, 9/8 range. They all submitted. That census is growing by like 1,000 every day.
By
Like,
the day. By the day. It's
it's like, will
once
it have an
again,
impact?
I've discussed this with people too, where you're not you have a run, I think, of 350,000 Absolute Batman cover A's, okay, that are out there. 350,000 copies. All right, you could argue there are what, a million Action Comics 1? However, there was a period where they destroyed those books just to get rid of them. Like they didn't care. There was no art of collecting. That's why you had trends of your X-Men ones that Jim Lee run, your Spawn ones, your Spider-Man ones. All those books in the 90s. This all happened in the 90s. There's just everything is recyclical. Where you had these hype where if you collect these, you're gonna make money. So people are
Yeah.
taking these like, oh my god, wait, it's 250 now. Oh, I need it, I need it. Oh, it's 300, I need it, I need it. And then now it's like, oh, it's 250 again. Oh, I guess I'll get out of it. And that's also why it keeps going down, is because people are like, I gotta get off now. I
Yeah.
gotta get out now. When at the same time, hey, if you didn't collect it because you liked it, you done screwed up, man. How many times we gotta tell you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, you're not.
that's how I
You're
look
not
at it.
wrong. You're not wrong,
If
man.
you like the absolute storyline, get a 9/8. I wouldn't mind a 9/8. I think the absolute Batman storyline is freaking fantastic. It'd be cool to have a 9/8 back there. I'm not going to spend sticker price right now,
Yeah.
but if it comes in a collection, I might put it to the side. I might get a book down the line when it's at a price that I deem okay to pay. And if it never gets there, it never gets there. Then I don't have it. But it wouldn't be a bug. I would be like, nah, I can't have it. No, I'd buy it one day. But the value, it needs to be at the price that I deem okay. I don't think it's there right now for me personally.
I'm not gonna jump on that train, but I missed it, man. To be honest with you, I missed. I read, I read it online. Hey, I did it. I read it online, but I didn't buy one in person, dude. I didn't. It's again
Nope.
for me, it wasn't my thing. So I kind of let it go by the wayside. It's a
It
cool book.
hurts. It's like I think any seller would have either the same story or a story very similar, same sentiment, where I had the book. It jumped up to 40. It was $40, and I was like, yeah, here you go. I sold it for $40. 2 weeks later, it's $100. I'm gonna go insane if you keep thinking about every time. But at the same time, I made money at $40.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Everything is gravy. But if I look at it where it's like, dog, I could have held it and I could have made $200. Oh, if only, you'll lose your mind doing that.
Yep.
And that's why you can't harp on stuff like that, because you did win. I made money off it. But you also, on the reverse side, yeah, if I sold this book 2 weeks ago, I would have made $200. Now that book is $125. I'm selling it. I could have made $75 more. You're gonna lose your mind with the I could have, I should have, I would have. If only this. It's not a healthy way to look at it.
Yeah, you
So
gotta count your wins, no matter how little, man. Just count them when you get them. That's it.
because it goes back to your comment before. Yeah, you might have lost on this book, but you made a ton of money on this other book. It evens out, dog. If you harp on every loss, you're not going to be able to celebrate the wins,
Yep.
and then you're going to go nuts. And then that's when you start speaking doom and gloom.
Yeah.
You got to be positive, because that positive attitude, that positive aura, that positive mantra will lead to success. I truly believe that. If you're always negative and everything's always, oh, the sky's falling, one day, man, the sky's going to be falling, and you're effed. Okay,
Yeah,
that
dude.
negative breeds bad. Okay, that's how I put it. But if you're positive, I think that breeds success every time, because you won't dwell on the losses. You'll celebrate the victories. And as long as you don't dwell on the losses, those losses are unimportant. So that's how I look at it. You dwell on the losses, then yeah, you're gonna feel like you always have losses. But as long as you celebrate the wins and dwell on the wins, you're gonna be okay.
Ryan, I
That'd be
think that's
my
something that
advice.
everyone can take away, whether they watch your live streams, whether they hung out with you like I have in person, and shared a couple drinks and laugh at some stupid stuff we've seen. At the end of the day, man, I think that your attitude is very infectious. It's contagious in a good way, and I hope that I
Depends who you
hope that,
ask.
yeah, dude, I hope that others can can share in that, and hopefully that message gets out there, that you put out. It was just buy what you like, man. Collect what you like. Don't fall into the he said she said. Just focus in on you, man. Like, you do
Yeah.
yourself best, and I think that's the best advice that everyone should follow. Leaving everybody with one last thing. What do you want to leave, man? What do you want to leave behind right now?
Leave behind as in like to the future generations? Leave behind as
Yeah,
in just
your words to close out. What do you want to leave behind, man? Like,
oh man,
you
my
know,
words to close out. Oh man, I'd say constantly keep looking for um not the next thing, but what kind of brings you joy. There's only so much of something you can collect. Um there are new things out there, like I've that goes with the original art. You get into the world of original art, it's also just reminding yourself that, like comic books, if you don't do it right, you're going to fail in a sense. So as long as you collect something because you like it and you're going to be happy, you won't lose.
yeah,
All right. If you're collecting something that is, oh, this original art is a 101. Oh, I know Neil Adams is a hot name. So, oh, that's a really cheap price for Neil Adams. Let me just get it because that's got to be worth more to somebody else. Now you're not appreciating that work. Okay. So that goes into whether it be video games, posters, everything. Like every poster I buy is a poster I'm okay with keeping. I don't get to keep all my posters because I got to make some money. But if no one buys it, I love looking at these posters every day. So it's collect what, if you couldn't sell it, would you be happy looking at it?
yeah. I like it, man. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all hosts. We're stewards of the items we collect until we let them go to their new home, right? That's really what it is. Like it's like the water you drink. It's yours while it's in your body. The minute you piss it out, it's gone. The minute you sweat it out, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to the atmosphere. Same thing with our books, man. You know, it's ours today. One day we'll let it go. You know, we'll move on. We'll pass on. It'll go to somebody else, and it'll end up in its new home. You know, wherever that may be. But I think that's a really, really awesome way of looking at it, man, and really sound advice. Ryan, we got to get you on another time, dude. Yeah. Or I know you and I could probably sit here and talk all day, dude.
I know. I had a great time. As you could tell, if you stayed around and listened to this whole thing, I like to ramble on, and I could do it with the best of them. But I do ramble on about stuff I have a passion for. And if you see me, whether you are an Instagrammer and you see me in live sales or you see me at conventions, I might be wearing an At Last hat. I might be working. I might be looking for a good deal. But deep down, I'm there because I am a collector. I'm a collector at heart before I'm here making money to have a living. You know, I take passion on what I do, and I think most sellers should. If you don't have a passion for this, if you don't really enjoy doing this, why are you doing it? You could sell anything you want out there. Don't focus on something like this if you don't have a passion for it.
Oh man, love it, dude. I love it. Ryan,
Yeah.
plug yourself in, dude. Let everyone know where to find you on Instagram, Outlast, all that stuff.
All right. So my personal handle is at bigger_cards_comics. Bigger as the adjective because that is my last name. Um, I'm trying to post a little more, but that goes into what we talked about before. People post just because they want to show off what they got and they want to feel like they're bragging to people sometimes. Me personally, no one makes me happier than me. So I try to do a little more posting, but I also work with Atlas Comics, my boy Frank, my boy Chef. Those are my dudes. They're technically coworkers, boss, but they are my homies. They're my people. Atlas Comics, we do shows now every day on Atlas_collects. So tune in, watch us. If this goes out before MegaCon, we will be at MegaCon. But we plan on being at a lot of conventions moving forward. If you ever see this logo right here, come over, say what's up to us. We're good people in and out, and we have a lot of fun doing what we do.
I tell you guys, approach Ryan, bug the hell out of him. If you see him, be like, "Hey, Russ, I saw you on that chat with Russ," and you know, but he's fun, man.
Go.
I'm telling you, like Ryan, you probably never laugh harder when you're at a con than when you start talking to Ryan. You guys start bullshitting about something. I'm going to tell you that right now because we've had those moments. It is fun.
I have a great time with this, man, and once again, hope you guys come say hi and come check us out on IG.
There you go. All right, Ryan. Well, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, man. Again, fun chat. We'll do it again for another time for sure. And all of you guys, stay tuned. Remember, bigger's better. That's what he always says.
There you go, dog.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Well, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, man.
Of course. Much love.